part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
You're listening to the Krypton Report.
Welcome to the Krypton Report. I quit. Goodbye.
All right. Well, welcome to the Krypton Report. I am James, the Superman Red, and with me is Tyler, Superman Blue. Or
Hey, everybody.
He quit.
I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. You know, we gotta start the show off different. We are the Krypton Report. We need like a really cool like news team assemble type thing with just us two. Krypton Report assemble. James with sports.
They played ball. Back to you.
Tyler with weather. Well, it's rainy outside. Brian at the news desk. And then our forefront lead anchor, Jania. Go yourself, everybody.
You know what grinds my gears?
What, James?
It's just a grinds my gears segment. I didn't really have anything prepared.
Well, you can always be like, taxes.
Right. Always.
So speaking of taxes, I had to talk to some students today. They were doing an activity for government and economics about taxes. And I was like, you want to create visual representation of how the government does taxes. Imagine that you're getting a Snickers candy bar, right? You got your big old Snickers. And then when they hand it to you, it's a fun size. That's them taking their taxes. And that's what you get. Welcome to life. The fun size. I was like, you can carry that to life.
It's awful. It's so sad.
It is. Okay, so this is not the whatever this is, I don't even know. But hey, how's it going, man? How's your week been?
You know, started out pretty good. So it's early, so I'm everything's going well.
Good. We don't have a whole lot of news. The only thing I have for news is that we saw a picture of like Red Death on the set of The Flash. So it looks like there's actually the Red Death costume. And then there's, Batwoman as well. So we'll see whatever it is going on with that. But that's all I really had. Everything else I feel like it's just been fluff talk, nothing I feel like diving into or really like going on about or anything. It's all just kind of been speculation or he said this and people trying to dissect a bunch of crap.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I guess the only thing we can specifically say, because James Gunn is one of the CCOs of DC Studios, is he's been active just posting some photos of DC characters.
This is true. Yes.
So we can't really get into anything deeper than that.
Yeah, I mean, he's done Lobo and Mr. Terrific. So I think it's a good way of putting it out there of characters maybe he's interested in and just seeing the kind of feedback that people give. But I mean, that's been about it. So, all right, we're going to dig into some comics. And like we said on our last episode, is we're going to catch up with the comics pulls that we have, and then we're going to shift gears a little bit because of the Ultra app. But first, James, tell us about Ultra, man. You were going off and on it about before we started, and I was like, why are we not recording this? So we kind of put a pin in it. So tell us about your Ultra experience.
Well, the books are only a month behind, so you can catch up and read a lot of the things that, just books that came out last month. You're current on the story. I mean, that's not that far behind. Most people, their reading stack continues to grow, and they don't get to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that way when I put more and more books on my list. But um, so I kind of, after I got Ultra, I picked up where I had left off, which was Batman Fear State, which was a little bit ago, but I was able to finish it all up. And from there, I was reading the mainline Batman book, a couple of issues, and then you get to Shadow War. Well, you can jump right over, like, Shadow War is Batman, Deathstroke Inc., and Robin, like a crossover of those three books. And, you know, I just caught up to that on all three of those books. I read Tom Taylor's Nightwing. I caught up on all of that. And literally today, another book dropped. So I'll be one issue behind when I when I read that again. Um, I'm coming up to the Shadow War here. I'm interested to read the
So, James, have you watched the newest episode 3 of Titans?
put me on the spot like that. No, I
Yeah.
haven't.
What? Why are you even my co-host, man? Why do I bring you on here? Um,
Well,
what is
normally you
wrong?
tell me what we're talking about, and I and I make sure to get it in.
Nah, I just want to say, like, this last episode of Titans, the episode entitled Jinx, no spoilers here, it sucked. Um,
It's
it has three storylines in it. And this, I won't spoil anything for you. But I really like Connor in that episode and how they're utilizing him, his storyline. And I was like, this is really cool. The Dick storyline in that is garbage. And I'll leave it at that. But the one thing that I'm loving that they're doing with Superboy, and this is something they did in season 2 that I'm just reiterating, is when he uses his X-ray vision, his eyes go white. And they kind of like glow. And I'm just really happy that they've kind of tried to find a way to show that power.
Yeah, I mean, something a little more than just like staring intently at something, trying to do something with your eyes.
Stare over here. Look at me. Look, okay.
Look at
All right,
me,
good.
but try and look through me.
Pretend like you're looking past me. Look into my eyes. All right. And good. We got it. Cut. Pray. Roll. So, but yeah, I just want to say, when you do watch Titans episode 3, just remember that Tyler said that Connor stuff was dope.
I look forward to it. I mean, we're supposed to get more, some more Superboy, some more Connor stuff this season.
Superboy. Connor. Connor. I was trying to do a Paul Rudd impression. It sucked. I'm tired. I need to stop. Let's get on with the show.
Amazon books and go up to Trials of the Amazons. I mean, there's so much on there right now. I've added about 75 books in the last couple of weeks to my reading history, and I mean, at $3.99 a piece when you have to buy them. I mean, I paid my 100 for the year. I've already read that, so it's a really awesome experience.
Good. I mean, and that's part of why we're just getting to the point where we're refocusing on the current books, because it's just been a lot. I mean, it's just,
Well, these days everything's a lot. Everything costs so much. You know what I mean?
yes.
And it's sometimes you got to cut corners where you got to cut them. And I've always been a fan of physical, and I'm going to continue to grow my physical media. It'll probably be at a slower rate than it was before, but um, sometimes, I mean, $100 for a year, and I can be current on all my books. And more, so much more. It's definitely, um, it's definitely a good saving measure, honestly.
Oh, I uh I agree with that because I just feel like I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot that I get sucked into. 'Cause I'm like, oh man, I want to read this, and then the story's just I don't know, the story's not that great to be honest. And then you're like, I just wasted like $10, and I'm like, you know what? If I read it on the app, I'll be like, oh, that was okay. Good thing I didn't have to pay too much for it.
I mean, that's certainly a thought. It's yeah, I've really had a good time with it. Um, I've been on and off with digital reading and physical reading, and
My thing about
uh,
digital reading is I really am not a huge fan of having to open read stuff on my phone. Um,
oh yeah, no, I stick to my reading on my
and
tablet.
since like they updated the app and it no longer worked with my iPad anymore, I really slowed down my digital reading.
Oh
And because I
man,
had to
that's
use it
tragic.
on like from the web page, and it just yeah,
Adds a little more steps, a little more complexity to it.
yeah. But let's get into some reading some comics. First one I got is Batman Superman's World's Finest #8, the new dynamic duo.
Which is pretty fitting for this issue, actually.
I'm loving the artwork for this story. I'm enjoying the story, but I'm not loving it as much as I wanted to.
The artwork is really good. The stories and the way they play out are very old school, like almost Silver Age.
Yeah, I can see that. And I'm not saying that as a bad
And
thing. I just
no, but it's not written Silver Age either, you
mhm,
know? Like those were some word heavy books.
yes they were.
Um the art is fantastic. Um I mean same. It's just
As much as I hate to say it, I mean it's Batman Superman, it's written by Mark Waid. I just don't feel like I'm connecting with it as much. I don't know.
I mean it kind of dropped down on my reading list like when I get books. Like I'll pick up other books before this. I would
I,
say,
I mean, part of it is
but
like
I'm enjoying it, but like I said, yeah, it's not my first book I
it's
grab.
world's finest, but they're so like but we're dealing with Supergirl, Robin, and now this new character. And
Boy
yeah,
Thunder.
and I'm just like, how about just Batman and Superman? Like what where are they at? And this book has Donna Troy, Speedy, Kid Flash, appearing.
Garth
Yeah.
Aqualad.
But this okay, so this issue is they're training, Boy Thunder, and it starts off where they're trying to get him to do something, and Speedy's shooting an arrow at him, a boxing glove arrow. He's trying to use his powers, and this I don't really understand this villain. Okay, I'm gonna be real with you. I get what they're trying to say, but uh, it just seemed really weird. Like he looks like um
I mean, you can think of what he does on a massive scale that is happening. Like it's pretty crazy how affecting how effective it is.
Yeah. The ultimate lockdown.
Yeah, he entomophobia.
Yeah, he's called the Key, and he looks like something out of Voltron. Like, he looks menacing to just he makes people be afraid to like go outside, like leave a door, leave a window, like
Yeah.
everyone. And I'm just like, this is creepy, but yet somehow feels very cheesy at the same time. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm trying to figure this out. And Batman and Robin are stuck in the Batcave because Robin says, um, where is it? I can steer you to the most urgent. No, that's Batman. Um, he says, if we could, but we're victims too. For all intents and purposes, Robin, I and R are locked inside the Batcave.
That's pretty cool. I mean, although he does get down to business in the Batcave.
I mean, yeah, he does.
Like, I guess if there's a one place you want to be locked in, it might be the Batcave.
Or a shopping mall.
You can still, yeah, or a shopping mall. I mean, if there are zombies outside.
Mm-hmm. They talk about how Supergirl is vaporizing entire walls so doctors can access rooms.
Yeah, Superman's ripping open ambulances, so there are no doors left. Like, people are basically outside.
It's like, all right, I don't know. I feel like for this to really work with me, I needed more than one issue of just being rushed. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been something more to build to and see actually how it's affecting people more. So they send David, also known as Boy Thunder, to a coal mine of people stuck inside the coal mine, and he goes and he flips the switch, and basically nothing's happening. And they say like his powers, he could set off a fire. He steadies his powers, and then he just says, "I'm sorry," and he takes off, leaving the coal miners. And Superman, meanwhile, is dealing with stuff. And then we get a cutback of David on his planet, of people yelling, "Please help me!" And he says, "I can't. I don't know how. I don't know what to do. I don't know." And we see people on fire, and then we see David's eyes look all. I'll be honest. I thought he was going to go down there and blow up the coal miners, because like the look on his eyes, and then we see him flying towards it. I thought he was about to snap. And then Superman.
Well, that would have been a real twist.
I mean, that's where I was like going with this. Superman gets there, and we see that David's already got there, and then we find out that the best part of the whole book for me is, remember how I had someone working on an antidote, said Batman, and Robin says, "Can I say it to him? Can I? I'm dying to. Let me go." Robin says, "Hey, Superman, look up in the sky," and it's Blue Beetle, dropping the antidote. So that was cool. I like the design for Supergirl in this book, and Supergirl's trying to talk to David, and she's telling him about Argo City, and I think it's a cool explanation. I think it's an interesting story about basically how it seems just a little tweak than what we're used to, with the idea that Argo City survived the explosion, and then it was dying. So then Kara was saved by being launched from Argo City, and then a meteor storm eventually wiped out Argo. My parents just managed to rocket me alone to Earth. And we see David like in a flashback of like arguing with his parents, and the last page is the Key, who looks like he should be fighting the Witcher somewhere. He even has keys at the end of his long white hair. going into a room and saying he has a new sidekick, and it's the Joker.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing there is with David's memory is she says, but remind yourself every day, David, that nothing you could have done, uh, that there's nothing you could have done, and that's okay. What happened was not your fault, right? And she questions him, and he kind of, I don't know, looks guilty when he says
He
right.
does.
So maybe there's something more that we didn't see during the escape in that
Well,
issue.
there's loads more. He killed them all.
And then, Superman has a new sidekick, and of course the Joker loves sidekicks.
And you know what? I wasn't even like excited or anything to see the Joker because I feel like he's gotten played out. I don't know.
No, I mean, I saw the Joker, I was like, oh crap! Like I didn't expect the Joker to be waiting for
Maybe I'm just
anybody.
getting old and jaded in my old age. I'm just like, yeah. But let's go over to our book that has returned to us, Dark Knights of Steel. James, why don't you take the lead on this
Yeah, that was
one?
a little hiatus.
Take the lead on this one.
All right, give me a second. Switch him around, yeah.
James is like, whoa, way to put in the spot, man. Like,
I gotta put one away to get the other one out. So it's the War of the Three Kingdoms, and we see that Lex, the Jokerized Lex, is talking back and forth with the Ring. It's the Ring almost seems like Power
that's what I was
Ring,
thinking. Yeah.
from Earth 3, where it's kind of talking negative to the person. The Amazons join forces with Anissa's army. So Queen Anissa. Last we left Jefferson and her brother were both assassinated.
Yep. I'll tell you,
Um,
this is one book when it's finished I want to give to Jania to read because I think she'll really dig it. And being that
Yeah.
it's a self-contained story, I think she'll really dig it.
I think Jamie will enjoy it as well, because this time period is also this fantasy time period, and everything that's happening is right up her alley, and it's right up mine, which is why I'm enjoying it so much. Lois approaches Constantine. Constantine is hiding something.
Of course.
Oh yeah. She says something feels wrong. The deaths, the sudden escalation of violence. So yeah, she feels like things are being pushed forward. Back in the L dungeons, got Oliver being able to shoot off Canary's mouth guard,
which was awesome.
so she can't scream.
And then I love that it's Oliver and Canary, but look, Oliver's already lost his arm.
Yes, he has.
Like, man, come on, already.
Well, Oliver killed the king.
I know.
Oliver fired the arrow, the magic arrow created by, now we know, Lex Luthor.
I know. I'm like, man, already lost his arm.
Right. So General Waller and Harley Quinn go out to meet Anissa and Hippolyta. Try to discuss terms, trying to get them to surrender and end the war before it starts. My army will, and nothing goes well. My army will see you on the other side of the forest. Constantine, he's, don't let him leave. It's just the two of them. And Hippolyta says that would not be honorable. And he's like, to hell with honor.
And the forest is alive.
Yup. So Ivy, she's there. She's there to protect Harley.
Yeah, she is.
Got all the Amazons, everybody fighting, and
Joker ring.
Lex comes in, basically like kamikaze bombs her.
Even the ring looks more like power rings than an actual lantern ring,
Yeah. Laura, what happened? Diplomacy went about as well as I suggested it would.
Archers, Waller has the command, and we hear hold your fire, and there's Diana and Zara. No one dies. Agreed. Turn your armies around. It's not too late. And then we see Constantine. He's up to it again.
Yep, Constantine has the resurrected prince, or would-be king, and he said, I'd make it rain in her lungs. He says, now do it, Jacob. And he starts collecting, he starts drowning Zara, her by just forcing water into her lungs.
And then we hear fall back, and then boom.
Yeah. He says, John, I don't know if I can. I've been beyond. I don't want to send anyone else to their death. He says, she took your father, Jacob. Don't waver. Avenge him. And Diana is, who's doing this? Stop. And by the gods fall back, Lara comes out onto the battlefield. She creates such a massive shockwave, like the carriage and the horses goes flying, tumbling through the air, which the prince Jacob gets his head knocked. You can see he's bleeding, and Zara starts being able to breathe.
I love the bottom panel.
Queen
where it just says Lara, and you see her in the show with the
Yeah.
red eye.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Just don't do anything foolish. If you love your people, surrender. She says, we have your son already, and Anissa didn't even know that.
Mm-hmm.
Says, come peacefully, and Anissa says no, they have to pay for what they did. And she's, no one has to die. I give you my word. And Laura says, where's the fun in that? And cuts Queen Hippolyta in half.
Dude.
With her heat vision. Yeah, man.
That next, yeah.
Yeah.
That page, I was like, holy wow. And we have Diana screaming mother. And I was just kind of I'm sitting to myself thinking, yeah, it's about every time I feel when me and Jania's moms get together. Which one's going to snap and murder the other one? But man, this is such a good story. I just
that's a turning point. What's gonna happen now? Is Wonder Woman gonna
some Romeo and Juliet
turn sides and fight against Zara and Lara and everybody? And
yeah, she'll probably
she freaking incinerates her. She cuts her in half.
I don't even,
it's nuts.
I don't know where to go. don't even know where to go. I'm just like, this is intense. But I'm all right, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's the one book that I probably look forward to the most right now because it literally can do whatever it wants.
Oh yeah, this is one I'm gonna keep buying until it's
We got
over with.
9, 10, 11, and 12. 4 more to go.
Yep.
And yeah, it'll be fun to go back and read again. All right, so
Yeah, when it's all done,
next up,
it'll be fun to reread from front to back.
Action 1048. I got I guess the basic cover for it because my comic guy sucks and doesn't always hold off on my comic stuff. You get me? The artwork for this issue is cool, but I don't like the coloring. It's very burnt orange, not even like sepia, but I don't like the coloring for it. And I'm gonna be flat out honest with you. I didn't really like the issue. It felt a little disconjointed. It had more questions. The appearance of Bibbo felt out of place. Yeah, I'm just throwing this out there. This has probably been one issue of Superman in Action Comics that I just was kind of like, eh. I don't know. I just didn't really like this issue. I mean, I like the interaction between Metallo and Lex, where you basically understand that Lex is setting Metallo doesn't want anything to do with him and just wants to live out his days, and Lex makes the off comment about Metallo's sister visiting every Sunday. And then at the end of the book, we find out that she's not coming, that she missed their visit, and you pretty much know that Lex probably did something to her. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
You can take it from there. I just the way that this story kind of plays out, I don't know. I didn't really like it.
I mean, honestly, when it comes to the art, I like the stuff that was easier to look at and read and digest was like the Lex and Metallo stuff, Superman in space. But there was just everything was like orange and yellow.
Yeah,
The art, it was just a little different,
yeah. It's like we
because
have no
we
thought.
just came off the other action art, which was really well done.
Like I said, it's not so much the art as the coloring. I'm not trying to be like a downer here. I'm really not. Like that's not me at all. But
Yeah. Well, we get a continuation of the story from War World. Um, we've got the building up of the story with Lex and Metallo, that we've had the last couple of issues. But we've got a continuation from War World. The children on War World that Kal-El rescued and said could stay with him. Couple of the Felosian children. So it's just like introducing them to Earth. They're at the zoo, they're looking at stuff, and that's where we get the Bibbo appearance. Um, Clark's doing his thing out in space.
okay, my question about the kids weren't they part of the Felosians? Or were they just Warzone people? Because I thought the kids had powers too, or would have powers on Earth. That was my biggest kind of misstep here of what was going on. Was
Right.
because I thought that they were part of that group. So,
Yeah, I mean, I kind of assumed they were too, but also we had seen that the Felosians didn't have the same reaction. under the sun, and like Theola is like powered by Genesis.
I guess that's true. I know. I mean, I guess I was thinking because comic soliciting anymore sucks because they're showing us like the covers and storylines for books months away. I mean, the newest issue of Comic Shop News uh has the Super family on it, where it's Superman, the two kids, John in a new suit, Connor, Supergirl in a new suit, the Superman of China, and then Nat Steel. So I just was like, oh, I had that before I read my book. So like I just was thinking, oh, the kids have powers. What's going on here?
Oh, right.
But I don't know.
Well, then we get the appearance of some new gods. It appears to be Desaad, Calabac, and
Which I
Orion.
thought was weird because Orion's usually like on their team, you know? And I felt like this was really just kind of like, whoa, like what's going on? Especially with Orion. Like, and then Bibbo goes to punch Calabac. And I was like, really?
Right.
Man,
Yeah, I was like, oh man,
I
like
like
Bibbo's gonna be saved by Superman once again because otherwise this dude would get
I
smashed.
like Bibbo. But sometimes they try to write him with his accent and it just comes off weird.
Right.
Superman, Sooperman. But yeah, Super Metron shows up, and they're talking about they want the fire of Olgren.
Yeah, so Olgrun is one of the old gods.
Now one of his 7 aspects is awakened in you. The madness that once took Olgren will take you next. It is inevitable. And they're like, it's not in Superman, it's in the boy.
And the boy is Olgrun's heir.
And Superman's like, over my dead body. Enough of this. The boy truly holds the fire of Olgren. Then let us learn what we can from. Boom. Superman punches Orion in the face. In the face.
Yeah, he does. Like he rocks him hard.
And Orion's like, take them. And you see Superman fighting Orion and Calabac while Metron just sits there. And he's just and it's kind of weird.
Yep.
Because I mean, I do kind of think it's interesting. Where we have the 2 guards on Stryker's Island talking about how since Superman came back, already aliens are invading.
Right.
And then that's where we have the it closes out with the Metallo, and it says the next is Superman versus the New Gods in Action 1049, I believe. So, and that's Kal-El Returns Part 3.
Yep.
Which is weird because these
Yeah.
Kal-El Return stories fit, but like they fit together, but don't fit together. It's like this one doesn't really feel like it connects with where we have Superman, Son of Kal-El.
Yeah, part 2 on Son of Kal-El, because part 1 is Action Comics 1047.
And then part 4 is the next issue of Superman, Son of Kal-El. And it's like, well, that's not him versus the New Gods. So it's just kind of weird. Did you read Rebel Moon Part 2?
Yes, I did. I did read Red
Oh,
Moon,
yeah.
not Rebel
Oh,
Moon.
must have been a Freudian slip. Red Moon. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, the Warzoons are on Earth. They're looking for him all over the place. Supergirl is trying to work with Theola about on her flying and everything, while people are we got Connor searching They're searching all over the world: Metropolis, Gotham, Shanghai, Mexico City, every major population center. Um, the Superman of China. John Kent's suit is in Atlantis. You got Steel and Steel.
Yeah.
John and
Steel
Natasha
and Steely.
searching around. Right. Steel and Steelier.
Steel, Steel, and Steel, Steal. They're like, we're really going to mess with you now.
Right. And then Superman. Yeah, they're looking all over. Theola is telling the story of what is his name? They say his name.
The oldest living Warzone.
Yeah.
Shaytil?
Chatel, yeah. Chatel. Yeah, that's who they're searching for. She tells the story of him, his savagery. He's lived so long. He's killed like thousands. And they're searching for him. And she starts hearing like Superman, like her super hearing kicks in. And she can hear Chatel. And so she tells her where to look, and Supergirl is watching. She drills a hole into the earth where where she can hear him. What does this say? He egg of a meteoric stone reaver and planted it beneath beneath a city. The egg hatched, and there's this giant beast with horns. And let's see, does he call it something?
Witness the creature that will reduce Superman's chosen people to ash and bring his home crashing down upon thee. Okay.
I don't remember him really talking.
Yeah.
No. I mean, he did, because it was always, Mongol who was and Mongol who is. And
Yeah, he always talked a lot about nothing.
he's very, very verbose to say something simple.
That's an understatement. But all right, that's our comics. Now we're going to jump into our new segment. We're going to press pause and hear a few words from our other podcasts on Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us, and then listen in.
If you are like Tyler and James and can't get enough super talk, check out these other podcasts. Digging for Kryptonite, Supergirl Radio, The Last Sons of Krypton, the Superboy Legacy Podcast, All-Star Superfans, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Aspiring Kryptonians, Always Hold On to Smallville, The Geek of Steel, and Truth, Justice, and Hope.
Remember to check out Krypton Report on all social media platforms. Go to linktree.com/Krypton Report. You find out all of our information. $1 a month. You'll get extra special content that you don't get on the main show, like movie commentaries and whatever else comes out of our mouths. So check it out, patreon.com/Krypton Report.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
All right, so the other part of this week's episode is we're taking a look back. It has been, the time of this recording, it's been a little over a year. We were going to record this earlier, but life happens, people. since Supergirl ended. Supergirl, one of the founding blocks of this podcast, ran from October 26, 2015 to November 9th, 2021. And we were going to look back at the pilot last year or last month. But then we thought, it's only like a week and a half, 2 weeks later. That is the 1 year of the finale of the series. So we thought we'd look back at the pilot, which James and I never discussed the pilot together. Because James, you joined after season 1. Like we started season 2 together, didn't we?
I believe so. I believe it was season 2.
See, this is how long we've been doing this.
Right.
We're starting to forget things and get old. But yeah, I know season 1 was pretty much Jamesless. So like I said, we never talked the pilot. So here we are. We're going back. We're kind of honoring Supergirl the show with a 1 year, a look back at the pilot 1 year after it ends, with just kind of how do you feel about it? Like, what were your thoughts? And as we get into it, James, let's take it back for a moment. And what was your thoughts and experience with the announcement and the preparation for the show and the first time you were viewing it? What were your thoughts? Where were you headspace awaiting watch the pilot of this show?
Oh,
take it back to 2015, James.
Take it back to 2015. Oh, can't hardly remember 2015.
I know.
No, I remember that the announcement that the show was coming. I, kind of followed it, found out it was coming out on CBS, um, coming up in that October, and I watched it October 26th, you know, I I watched that pilot as it aired on TV, um, and leading up to it, the trailers and stuff, it got me really excited. I was happy to see a new show because at the time, um, we had Arrow and we had the Flash, so it was this ever expanding thing, um, and it was it was really awesome to see that Supergirl, that this character was, that another Kryptonian also was getting their own show.
What were your thoughts going into it about the role that Superman may play in the show?
I mean, as we got further along, they had said that he was going to be like a background character, that like we weren't really going to see him and stuff. And I mean, when I kind of heard things like that, I kind of assumed that the show would do some of what it did,
Mm-hmm.
by taking some of Superman's villains, but also I think, you see that in the comics where Supergirl would contend with some of the people that Superman does.
It's true. It's true, people. It's true. Yeah. So before we get into any other thoughts, before we get into the episode, I'll say my thoughts here. All right, I'll go. I remember when the show was announced, I was really excited. It was going to be on CBS, which I thought was interesting because it was like one of the major networks that didn't jump on any kind of comic book. It just seemed like we had Gotham on Fox. we had Krypton being talked about for sci-fi, of course the CW, and then we had Constantine coming on NBC, and then Supergirl's going to be on CBS. And saw the previews. It was getting exciting. And I started the podcast because at the time I was doing the Gotham Before the Bat, the Gotham podcast, and I was also doing guesting on the Flash Arrow Power Hour that started to expand more as more shows were popping up. And I was like, I want to do this one. So at the network that I was part of, Southgate Media, I was like, I want to do the Supergirl show. And when we first started the podcast, it was just a review podcast of the Supergirl series. You know, the first season of the podcast was kind of who are these characters that were being announced when they would announce when they announced James Olsen, and then of course Kara. We did episodes kind of diving into the histories of the characters, who they are, and you know, building up. And then when the show started, of course, it was called our podcast was called The Last Daughter of Krypton. And then I decided, you know what, I wanted to do more. So of course it, you know, morphed into Krypton Report and everything like that. And I've told that story. But during this time, I had a friend who got me, without me asking, the leaked version of the pilot. And do you think that I waited to watch that, James, or did I watch it right away?
Oh, I bet you watched that right.
I watched it right away. And I recorded some thoughts, but I didn't release them. I was like, and then when the show aired, I watched it live on TV with my wife, with the wonderful, amazing Jania. And we watched it, and it was good. There was no difference in the pilot and then what was leaked. The same thing had happened before with The Flash. That pilot got leaked before it premiered, and I did the same thing. And I remember watching and being very excited about the show. And, you know, we speculated before, like, what the role of Superman would be. Would this be a world without Superman, where it basically be a Superman show with Supergirl? And then we had the pilot. And now we're going to talk about the pilot episode in depth. So, James, how was watching the pilot? When was the last time you watched it?
I probably started rewatching Supergirl a couple of years ago on Netflix. Watched, you know, a good half of the first season. That was probably the last time I watched the pilot episode, which is probably only the second or third time, probably third time I've seen it.
I think I've watched the pilot 3 times before this. I think it's my 4th time watching it. Because I watched it once when I watched the leak. And then I watched it live. And then I started to rewatch some stuff here and there. And then that was years ago, I think. Because I was trying to do a rewatch a few years back of like Supergirl and Flash. Or no, yeah. And I got like I did season 1 and 2 of Flash like it was nothing. And Supergirl, I didn't make it all the way through. Because I wanted to try to watch it with Sayla, which I'm thinking about rewatching the first season because Sayla is more interested now. But that's a side story. And I hadn't watched. I've been wanting to revisit the series, but at the same time, just because of where the series went, some of it got so heavy and so disjointed that I didn't really feel like revisiting the show. But I will say, watching the pilot again was so refreshing. It felt good. You know, like,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
it hit me. It still hit all the emotional beats with me. It resonated. I still had that with the music, the way it was, you know, her saves, her like the way she just comes out and does, being Supergirl and everything. Like it was hitting all the beats again, and I was like excited to watch it. Like, and I forgot how much I really enjoyed the first season. And I'm really excited to kind of revisit it because it doesn't feel as weighed down as it will become. And as I was watching it, it's kind of weird to think about because you forget that the first season was produced in Los Angeles by CBS, because in the next 5 seasons are all on the CW, and it feels like a CW show.
Right.
So it felt different. I mean, they're in California, they're in Los Angeles, and we have that awesome set for the cave bunker base for the DEO.
Yeah, I was watching. I forgot about the cave.
And I was watching how good the writing was of just setting up the engine for the show. They're talking about Fort Ross has crashed and that Alora jailed them, and how it really was a mother and daughter show. And I was like, they talked about how she was lost in the Phantom Zone, and then I got thinking, like, did we ever learn what pulled her out of the Phantom Zone that helped pull Fort Ross to Earth?
I think there was some explanation, but I can't remember what it was. Um, I know that they, in this episode at the DEO, that they said that she pulled them out when she came out,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's just like something, they say, like a misdirect for her to focus on something maybe she's guilty of, but I think something else, they opened up the Phantom Zone and to get Fort Ross out of there, and she was released at the same time.
Mm.
I think that's how it went, but I can't remember what it was.
So that was exciting. Just like, they talk about how the people from Fort Ross escaped, but they haven't really been doing too much until recently. They started to act up again. And I love her reveal to win and what happens. And it was thrilling and exciting. And it was almost like I was ready for the show. Like, what is the show? Like, what's gonna happen? Then I'm like, wait, I know everything's gonna happen. I was excited, like the montage of when she's kind of piecing her suit together, and she has like the more Doc Martin boots on as she's stopping the bank robbery.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the symbol on yet, and she's got the Doc Martin boots. And she's filming on the backlot of where they filmed Lois and Clark. So that was exciting. You remember that?
Yeah.
So nice little super nod there. And the one thing I was like, Wynn is making her suit. And I was like, how? Because later he has DEO tech, and that's, oh, we just made it, to DEO. But here he's putting together a suit, and I'm like,
Yeah, he's talking about like some sort of composite material for the cape.
yeah, I'm like, because he's like, no cape, and he's like, oh, it's aerodynamic. Don't tell your cousin I said that.
Right. Like, capes suck. Capes are stupid.
And then he's like, yeah, maybe this cape will hold up. And at the end of the episode, we have James present Kara with something, and it's actually Kal-El's blanket. It's for her cape, and I was like, I feel like she shouldn't have had a cape the whole episode till the end. And then this is how she actually got her cape. I don't know. I was like, it could have been something like piecing the suit together. I mean, it is a great scene when she comes walking out with the full Supergirl suit with the the long boots and the tights and everything. Like it was still thrilling and exciting for a pilot episode here for a series that I've seen that makes me it makes me wonder what the show would have been if it hadn't left CBS.
Right.
Because there's a different feel, a tone, a vibe. Because you just moving location, they change crew, they change. A lot happens in the second season. We lose a lot of people.
Yeah, we do.
How did you feel about watching the pilot again with Cat Grant, like her character?
She was. I forgot how pushy and not pushy because she's always pushy. How just like so much that it was enough to be, or it was so much to be who she is, a woman running a multinational uh, news outlet like that, and the way she was just like, oh, you're fired, and then just like, oh well, see you tomorrow.
A lot of people, I don't want to say I don't like Cat, but at the same time, I was in the pilot here. I'm just kind of like, ugh, like, but her character, we get to see it develop more and grow, and it's cool. But that's something that we lost when we went to season 2. We lost, Lucy Lane when we went to season 2.
Yeah, we did.
And I mean, Lucy wasn't in the pilot, but just talking about things that change, the desert bunker and all that. But there's such a the episode is definitely a pilot. Unlike Lois and Clark, where the first episode is basically a TV movie to launch the series. This is just a standard pilot that does a really good job of establishing everything, doing what it needs to do. At parts, I thought it could have breathed a little bit more, but it worked. And you know what? Like, I liked Alex again. I feel like as the show went on, they just did some bad writing for Alex at times.
Yeah.
And it just felt like this was a good, strong character again. And I did like the line, I don't know if you caught it, where Wen's talking to Kara about him and her, and he says the super friends, and she's like, we're not calling ourselves that. And I'm like, well,
Yeah,
wait 5
I
years,
did.
Kara. Then you'll be flippantly
Right.
using it all the time. We're the super friends. But the pilot is fun because the pilot is the one time you see David Harwood as Hank Henshaw. Because the whole time he is acting, he's Hank Henshaw. It wasn't until they were finishing shooting the pilot that Jeff Johns suggested the scene of his eyes going red and him being Martian Manhunter in disguise. So from the actor and everything, he's playing the Hank Henshaw character. He's not playing Jean playing Hank.
No.
So there's a subtlety change when you get to the second episode in him. But how did you feel about that the first time you saw it, and how you feel about it now when you find out he's Martian Manhunter?
I just from knowing like where it goes and the fact that he gets to play Hank Henshaw again, and like how dark and like anti-alien that he was.
Uh-huh.
Like he's like he goes hard with it later, because he's very much that in this one. Because in this episode we've got like aliens don't exist. What do you mean aliens don't exist? Superman is an alien.
Yeah.
Like, is he the only accepted alien? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
So it was interesting the way that they his performance. I really enjoyed. I think he did a really good job. He was very much Hank Henshaw, but he had a likable quality. He wasn't completely horrible, but he was like, because he's, when Alex is Kara, the reason I was recruited, and he said, yeah, but you're the reason you stayed. It's a little bit of a compliment, talking up Alex's character. There was just a soft side to the edge he had the whole episode.
Yeah.
So I didn't think that it was. I wasn't sure if that Hank Henshaw character was going to be the same one that we know and expect from the comics at the time of watching it,
Mm-hmm. No, I 100% agree. Now, when you watched that first episode and his eyes turned red, how did you react? Did you poop your pants?
Well, I mean, I was like, "Oh man," like I was like, is that Martian Manhunter? Is that what we're doing here?" And I was real excited about that.
I was like, "Oh man, this is awesome! This is amazing. Where's James?" And Janine was like, "Who's James?" I said, "Oh, time dilation. You'll catch up." No, I was excited. I geeked out. I got really pumped. So it was nice, and I was glad they did it. And yeah, I look back and I'm thrilled at this pilot, and I highly recommend the first season. And second season's good, and season 3, I think was the best, but after that the show just it turns and becomes something different. You flood it with side characters that you let take over all the attention, and it loses its spark. You have some bad writing for some of the characters, and I don't know. It was nice to be back in the pilot, and I want to rewatch the Livewire Flash episode because that's good.
Yeah, I haven't seen the first Flash Supergirl crossover episode in a really long time.
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi, hearing old Ben Kenobi.
Because like I've watched the musical episode a few times.
With the music maestro that's basically like Mr. Mix's Pedelik, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we're like, wait a minute, he's more powerful than he should be. This isn't the music maestro that I saw in Batman and Brave and the Bold.
No, it was not the same music meister, but I think the way they used him and the way the episode turned out, yeah, I mean, it worked.
It did work. But anything else you want to say about the pilot to Supergirl? Watching it here now.
I'm glad I rewatched it. It's been a while, and it made me want to watch the rest. It made me want to watch the rest of the season again. I haven't seen the first season in its entirety, in maybe at all. You know, maybe I don't think I might have seen the first season in its entirety since it aired on TV. So it really makes me want to check that out. And I'm certain I will again. But not at the moment. We are actually working on Smallville.
Nice.
Currently.
I feel like with the way the shows are going and summer, I'll probably start revisiting things because it seems like certain things are slowing down. We don't have it like we did for a while where we had so much of shows being played over the summer and year round for our DC shows. And
yeah. Well, like I said, we got Smallville, we got Titans, Doom Patrol will be coming soon.
Yeah, but that's gonna be over in like a month. Like 2 months. So, like I said, summertime. I'll have some free time to kind of revisit things.
Yeah. Like I said, it's definitely something I want to do.
Okay. Well, James, thanks for the chat, man. Looking back. I also want to point out to people, Supergirl Radio has been doing much like I experienced with James. Rebecca over on Supergirl Radio, when she started, she didn't have her full-time co-host Morgan. So they've been kind of going back to certain episodes earlier in the show and reviewing them. And those are fun to catch if you get a chance. They do a lot more in-depth discussions and have done a lot more episodes than what James and I are just kind of doing. We just want to do the one as a way of just looking back that it's been a year, James, without the Girl of Steel, the Maiden of Might. It's been a year. How does that feel to you? Like not having new Supergirl in your life. And we didn't even get our Supergirl on the big screen like we were promised. So
yeah, we haven't gotten that Supergirl yet, and with Superman and Lois, we don't know that will ever happen.
I think it should. I think because it's a different Earth, it would be great to see Melissa show up.
Yeah.
Like she's coming back from the future. Like she's been with the Legion the whole time. That explains why she's not been in any of the episodes. And we get to see her for like a 2-episode arc or something. Would be awesome.
Yeah. The Young Justice tease of Supergirl we had there so far does not appear like that's gonna get to play out at all, which is very, very sad. Very, very sad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to buy everything that I can Young Justice.
Well, I mean, that's how I felt with Stargirl. Like I bought the season of Stargirl because I was like, I wanted, and I tried to play it like in the background a couple times with the CW app or whatever, just to like, I love this show because I do. So I really wanted to support it in every way possible, and then they canceled it. But that's going to wrap us up here. Thanks, James. This is the Krypton Report signing off, and remember,
look up in the sky.
We just want to say if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on the Press Play Podcast Network.